I'm overthinking. Guys, how do people stay consistent on this thing? A drink would help. I'm actually charged up right now, and I hope I'll be able to tell the story in the best way possible. I think I've changed the story time that I wanted to tell. No, I don't think. I wanted to tell you guys a story about the time I got my friend fired. The second story was about how I flew from China. It was about the time I flew from China to Zimbabwe to meet a guy I was talking to online. If anybody knows a company or an organization that needs a clown, I'm definitely that guy. This was in 2018. 2022, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still the girl you'll find on dating apps trying to find love. So this is my first video ever, finally, after like a decade of saying I'm gonna do something on YouTube at some point, because I just like to look back at myself and just laugh. So yeah, welcome to my channel, guys. I hope you stay, and even if you don't, for whatever, feel free to come back. So yeah, I'm definitely going to tell the story about how my family forgot me in a taxi. I'm nervous in the back of my mind, because I'm just like, what if the camera angle is not the best right now? Anyway, I would like to assume that this story happens in 1999. If not, it happened in 1998. Because I'm the last born in a family of 4. So yeah, it's one of those. I'm like the baby of the house, and I'm expecting that, you know, all eyes are always on me. But these guys end up forgetting me in a taxi. And what's crazy to me is when we think about life today, I know someone could be watching this and maybe, you know, something terrible has happened to their loved one, you know, where they got in a car and they never saw them again. I think you know, when you get older, like, you really don't know how old your brother is, especially if there's like a bit of a gap, right? I know definitely for the first 3, I think there's like a year or 2, you know, age gap between them. But between myself and my brother, who's before me, I think there's a 5 or 6 year age gap, right? So they're definitely like way older than I am. So fine, it's like the new term. I want to think that this was like December, January time. It's ironic because we're actually in December right now. So anyway, I think it's December. Let's settle for December. And these guys are shopping to go back to school. Like, it's gonna be the first term in the next year, or maybe we're already in the next year at this point. And yeah, everyone, you know, life was good at this point. So I grew up in Chitungiza, and if you know Chitungiza, like, think about Chitungiza in 1999. Where would everybody be shopping for their kids to go back to school? Let me know in the comments. No, nah, it's too soon. It's too soon to say that. Yeah, like in 1999, at this point, the economy is still pretty good, right? So if you're living in Chitungiza and you're not shopping with town center was like this amazing place. Like, town center is still better in my eyes than Joina City. My siblings are obviously doing their shopping. I want to assume the first store, because I'm recalling, you know, the map of the mall as I'm sitting here right now. Definitely before we get to grocery shopping, we hop into Kingston's, which happens to be like the stationery store, right? So these guys are probably getting their counter books, their regular notebooks, and their Eversharp 15Ms, or was it Eversharp 2000? I don't know which one was better at that point. But yeah, like, I'm sure they're buying their stuff. Like, everyone is excited to be going back to boarding school, because all of them were in boarding school at this point, I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure after that, you know, I'm rolling my eyes because I feel like I've already said pretty sure way too many times. So if you're an alcoholic, in case I say this again, take a shot. Anyway, I feel like after the whole stationery buying, the next store people would hop in would be ENB. I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly. I don't know if it's ENB or it's NB. Let's actually say NB. Yeah, let's say NB. So I think people get into NB and they get their uniforms. You know, as bored as you, just always need like an extra this and extra that. I'm telling you all this because I want you to keep in mind that I'm like in grade 1 or in modern day 0 grade, right? So I'm just a young kid and I'm working with all these adults, right? And they're doing their shopping and it's crazy. It's obviously taking forever because I want to believe that 2 of my siblings were already in secondary school and maybe 1 was still like in primary school, right? So they're buying a lot of things, guys. They're buying. After NB, the final stop would be either OK or TM to do what? To buy your tack, right? Guys, do you remember? Oh my gosh, this is so like so nostalgic. Do you remember my trunk? Like those black items, like where you had your name written. So my trunk, of course, my toiletries, your uniform, everything. But the most important thing is the tack. I'm definitely seeing my spuds, a lot of my chomp kids. Oh yeah, chomp kids. Maybe Crystal Sweets. It's not even supermarket, hypermarket. Am I saying that right? I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, these shops were super big. Everyone had their trolley. That I remember very well. Imagine how exciting it must have been for my siblings, guys, because wow, life was lifing. All I remember is getting back to the spot where we get taxis. Mind you, this is like 1999 or 1998, between the two. And there's no Uber, there's no... Wait, does Zimbabwe actually have Uber right now? I know there was a time when they tried to bring like this windy thing. I remember Pokelo tried to, market for it. I know there was windy. There was another one that I actually tried to use when I was in Zim like a couple of years back. But I think it's from that guy, the buddy guy. What's his name? Oh, guys, the owner of Econet, that guy, that one. I think he had an app. I don't know if it's still working, but yeah. Anyway, this is the time when we don't have all that, right? So you literally go either, like if you know town center, there was a part where you get the buses, right? And then on this side, Panemuti, like, yeah, that's where the taxis would be. I remember. And just Pamberi Pachana, there's like the police station. I remember because I know we had to get my other brother once. I'm not gonna say the name unless because I got to something in the car and he ended up trying to drive the car, so the police took him. So I know very well where that police station thing was, right? So anyway, there's like a part where you'd get taxis, right? So by taxi, guys, I'm not talking about your modern day Corollas or whatever. This is the time of Peugeot. Like, do you know Peugeot, guys? Like, Muchova. I will send a picture somewhere so that the young 2Ks can see what Muchova was or is, rather. I don't know if anyone still has a Muchova. Shout out to them, because child, I feel like that's a legendary car. And yeah, each time I'm gonna see one, I'm definitely gonna think of this story, because that's where everything happens, right? So yeah, I think we get in the car and obviously everyone is pushing their trolley, so they're putting their stuff in the car. You can just try and imagine the emotions and the excitement that all of my siblings had at this point, because you're going to boarding school and you've got all this tack. Guys, boarding school is not boarding school without the tack, right? I hope we're on the same level this one, because I was a boarder eventually when I, got to Form 1 and everything. So I definitely know how it felt to, have nice goodies in your suitcase or your trunk. In my case, a suitcase, right? So I can imagine how excited they were. I think I just got in the car. At this point, I'm not too sure. What I know for sure is what happened next. So definitely these guys were driven back home. I grew up Kunun's Unit B. So guessing now, like it should take you 10 minutes at most to get to my cabins from town center, right? So I don't know how long it took back then, because now kuna newsstands, kuna this, kuna that, so it's easy to maneuver around the area and eventually get to where you're going. These guys get home, I don't know after how many minutes, but obviously I was tired because tapinam Kingstones, tapinam NB, but I'm with them TM okay. Those shops were so big, and your grocery shopping, your toiletry shopping, so it's obviously going to take time. I'm just a young kid, I'm tired, it doesn't really concern me, so I'm just going to be tired. Probably fell asleep the moment we got in the taxi. Muchova Pijot. These guys get home and now they start offloading their stuff, obviously from the gate into the house, gate into the house. So you can imagine when I take out my uniform, I take out tag, there must have been a lot of things going on. So much that they forget me, the last born, Inini, the baby of the house. It's not like you're like, I'm handling my own stuff. These guys forgot me, guys. They just forgot me. Achitakura ma Serevitabo, if Serevita existed at this point, their conflicts, my Willards, my Spads, my things, my Jupiters. I think they were just so excited. I'm sleeping. I don't know anything that's happening. Okay? And this is where it gets amazing. The driver does not notice that, kwasi wamana in the back seat. Because if you know what a Pijoti Muchova looks like, you would definitely know, okay, there's this part where the passengers are sitting, and then there's the back where maybe the groceries and everything were. He doesn't notice that I'm there. My mom is saying that this guy discovered me when he got to his house, but I think otherwise. I think this guy drove back to town center to get maybe his final, set of customers or whatever, because it was late. And I remember very well just waking up and I'm looking around. There's nobody in this taxi. No one, nada. Confused, like, okay, what's going on here? And I think, how drivers get out of their taxis to interact with the other taxi drivers or to try and lure the next customer in. What I remember is this guy coming back into his car because maybe he had gotten someone to take home or wherever they were going. And now because I was awake, I think I must have said something to him. So I just asked my family if I was a talkative child, because it's very important at this point, because how can you forget a talkative child, right? So I think I must have eventually said something to this guy, and then he was shocked to see me at the back of his car. Like I probably must have made him feel bad that he didn't notice that I was there all along. But it just shows how tired I was, and I was just sleeping, which is something I can relate to now because, baby, I will sleep. That person that is so passionate about sleeping. I'm that friend that will invite you to come over for a nap because I just find naps so therapeutic, especially during the day. So anyway, I digress. So this guy eventually figures that I'm going to team B. So he drives us back to Unit B. Guys, like I said, this is not the Uber era where you can easily recall, you know? Which is why I'm so grateful to God that I'm able to sit down and laugh about this story, because I can imagine in this modern day we're living, what could have happened to me if I had been forgotten in that taxi. Like, just think about it deep. Like, if you're from Africa, Southern Africa, or anywhere in Africa for that matter, like, you know how this would turn out. So many things have been happening to kids, to adults that are kidnapped, and it's such a sad thing that's happening now. It's terrifying. So this guy drives me back to my family home, and he probably knocked the gate or whatever, and I remember my mom coming to the gate and being shocked, like, Rosette? Like, ma'am, if you ever watch this video, like, I've already talked to her about this, I think maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, it's funny now, but I'm just like, wow, this guy was honest enough to drive me back to my family home. Like, anything could have happened to me at this point. The worst situation could have happened. You know, my sister blames herself, apparently. She says I was her responsibility. Deputy parent type of situation. Guys, like, I'm just so amazed when I think about this story, and I'm still alive today. God knows how far he will take me, but I'm so grateful to still be alive and tell this story. And you know, I don't know who this taxi driver was, but I'm so grateful for his spirit, for his kind heart to take me back home without harming me in any way. You know, I remember him trying to ask me questions like, oh, got a copy or whatever, and I was still so young, you know? So it's really amazing that I'm able to tell this story. And yeah, guys, that is the story about how my family forgot me in a taxi. So yeah, for now I'll end here, and hopefully you know, get some courage to record another video. Until then,